Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the LCS. It's me, it's Kobe. There's nobody else in the prompter, and so therefore there must be nobody else here. Woo! We got Zhao, we got Emily as well, here to kick off the LCS waiting room, day 2, week 2. I want to kick things off by taking a look at the standings, just a quick refresher of how things broke down yesterday and ultimately where we've ended up. If only because I think to so many people, it came as a surprise that FlyQuest remains the only undefeated team at the top of the league at 3-0, coming out of our 3rd day of play.
It's exciting.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's not a complaint.
Really cool.
It's an observation.
I was trying to think the last time FlyQuest was in first place. And either it was like 2 years ago in 2020 because they were pretty good, or it was when High was on the team. Like one of those two is true.
That was the High Balls iteration, right?
It would have been. It would have been like the original weird logo FlyQuest. But I mean, yesterday in particular, I thought they looked really well. I'd say last week their game against Golden Guardians was really shaky. They've definitely had a pretty easy strength of schedule, but all credit. Like, let's have their moment in the sun here at 3-0.
And to me, it was such an interesting story for FlyQuest because at the beginning of the year, I was like, I really want to see an LCS team, you know, probably one at the bottom of the standings that doesn't have a lot to lose, embrace this roaming top smite support. I was like, you know, they're going to lose anyways, so play something off meta. Don't play default. And it turns out it's the #1 team. They won all their games with the smite tops.
Yeah.
Kumo is rank 1 in Challengers queue.
Did anyone follow up on that yesterday? Because
Champions.
somebody tweeted out that, like, given the start time of Champions,
Yeah, they missed like an hour.
he would have missed. He would have missed his first ability, his first game to queue.
It was like JoJo could have
could have actually overtaken him.
Yeah.
I wonder if it happened. We're gonna have somebody run that down. Okay, according to the website, same as yesterday. That feels.
It opens its
shady. We'll find out soon enough.
The website's a little slow.
Either way. While FlyQuest, I think, impresses many at 3-0, they have shaken a couple moments. We'll see who can be the first team to challenge them. I want to now flip to the bottom side of the table. It's CLG, it's TSM, the only 2 winless teams. And 4 months ago, when there was some unrest in the TSM camp, Reggie held an AMA, and he said there is no way I would ever let us end up like CLG. I would sell my house, car, and clothes, my everything to sign the best talent at that point.
I tipped on the house.
But so, I mean, in part in Jez, it's 0-3 for both squads, plenty of room to go. This is an interesting position for TSM to find themselves in.
Historically, their worst start ever.
Yep.
Also true.
Yep. Yeah.
Also true. They've always won at least one of their first 3 games in a split. First time that's ever not happened.
So one of the things with the LCS this year also is we are running a lot of experiments in tandem. And usually when you run experiments, you want to have the least amount of confounding factors. But all of these teams, almost every single team except for 100 Thieves, has this growth mindset. And this mentality of we're going to improve. It's just that these are the 2 teams that have to improve the most and actually have had, you know, the rocky starts. But it's still true for both these teams where, you know, TSM bringing over multiple LDL players, even if they got some time in LPL, a lot of stuff they're working through, different languages, CLG as well, you know, trying to put together all these academy superstars. So excited to see where both of them still can grow.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see what happens with TSM. Not necessarily because it's going to work out or because it's not going to work out, because I just know it's going to be explosive and I don't know what's going to happen. So like,
you just want to see something burn?
No, because TSM has generally been like they started off, they made their first 10 finals from like 2013 to 2018.
Yeah.
And then they haven't been as good the last few years. They did have like one Worlds run where they went 06. Anyway, they've always been at least upper half. But like how much patience is like also the new guard of TSM gonna have, right? Because obviously Reggie's there, but Parth's not there anymore, right? They've switched out their coaching staff. It's like a completely new team running the league team. How much time are they going to give the development roster, which does need time to develop? I just don't know. Like, how loud is the social pressure or the pressure from inside TSM going to be before something changes? Because I don't think they're going to win today either. If they do, obviously it changes. I think they're going to lose the Golden Guardians. But it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, and TSM previously, even in like when they weren't doing this poorly, has made immediate adjustments, both within their coaching staff and their players. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens this year because I do think this is a roster that still has a lot of bright spots individually, but needs a lot of time, like more time than I initially thought, to be honest.
Yeah, I was also a little worried when they said Spica's going to do a lot of the translating in real time in game. Because for me as a jungler, even having regular comms is overwhelming. You know, it's a step from solo queue up to having comms in competitive. But then from comms to also doing translating duties, which people have as their sole occupation.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot of work.
It's tough.
Yeah, maybe he got an extra rider in the contract there. I'm getting paid as a translator as well, actively.
But also, it's been like 3 games.
Yeah.
And like a week and a half.
Yeah.
But conversations like this, and we're having like the tame version of the conversation.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, and that's why I pulled up that Reddit thread.
one.
That's why I pulled up that Reddit thread, because I was like, you already see, that's how the community was reacting 4 months before the split.
Yeah.
Now, how do you think people
That isn't even the worst.
well,
That's
exactly
not even
right.
close to the worst
That's the
reaction.
safe for air version that we can pull up here. One other team I want to talk about that's Evil Geniuses hopping on to the off-meta top picks in terms of running the Karma with Smite yesterday. To great effect in that they received a victory. Sorry. And none of them a win. Impact himself said he had no idea what he was doing. But if you take a look at this as well, I kind of love the way they're playing into it. We just created the most boring game in LCS history. We'll do it again if you don't nerf this Riot. So I like it. The threats are coming out.
So on the plus side, funneling gold into JoJo and Inspired, good idea.
Yes.
On
Agreed.
the minus side, the execution was definitely not
That
there.
first death
As
was
we're probably about to see a reel of deaths over here. But yeah, I have not seen one team, in my opinion, hit the timings that you would necessarily want to hit for this Janna Smite, or just generally like Smite support tops where you are like aggressively attacking the bot side, because as we said previously, against Dignitas, a team that does like to play these pushing bot lanes, a team that does know how to rotate Caitlyn Lux around the map. This isn't, again, also not a bad strategy against them, but the execution was
I don't want to put you on the spot in terms of giving me like timestamps, but what does good look like then? With, you know, for myself, audience member sitting at home, sees a Janna, a Karma locked in, like how is it utilized effectively? Where are those timings? What has to be done by a certain point in the game to be deemed successful?
So ideally, what I would like to see, or do you want to go? Or I was going to say, like, one thing I think most teams have been getting is the first dragon timer, like almost exactly at 5 minutes.
Okay.
But then obviously, like, you're also trading, like, sharing XP on the bot side. So what you need to do is be paying attention to where mid wave is, Drake timers, whether you're going to rotate for Herald, and if you're not, like, what are you doing to mitigate that? But ideally, you also need to get that Herald to basically push. Like, it's almost like having a similarly pushing bot lane, but worse, or like even more accelerated. Like, you know what I compare it to almost is season 4 initially, when we saw teams testing out that 4-man push strat where the sides of the map
we
would be,
moved
like,
past the
almost
3v1s into the
entirely-
4v0s.
So yeah, like, because basically you're trading sides. And the reason why you can do that is because the turret changes to stop people from lane swapping in the first place, make it so that ideally the top can't push as fast as the bottom.
Yeah, it's quite similar in that you have to hit a lot of smaller timings that are based on, you know, the waves that build up on top side of the map and which amount of, you know, experience you want to try and get your jungler. Because there are some strategies, and it always depends on which comp you actually have and what you're playing against, but boosting jungler to early level 6 to try and go for these dives, controlling enemy jungle, going in a lot deeper than we've seen a lot of these teams do.
Right.
If you watch Lorlo, he has been, I feel like in North America, the one closest to perfecting it. Funnily enough, Impact played Ivern versus Lorlo in matching double support roaming just a couple days ago.
Nice.
So I think that EG actually might continue with this strategy.
Okay.
And Impact has been practicing against, you know, the at least a couple games, the player that has played the most of it.
Yeah.
But you saw there are a lot of positional errors from him. Dying multiple times early on. You are a low-level support. You have to respect, you know, like Assassin's mid, enemy jungler timing, stuff like this. And so when you're trying to base it around where you're strong, you have to base it around setting up dives on bottom side or getting this turret, you know, transitioning through the neutral objectives while maintaining the losses of experience from the waves.
Is it okay if we spend a little more time on this?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It could balloon to
This
the
is the
entire
point.
episode.
This is the entire
Which is
point of
funny
waiting
'cause
room.
We did this last time I was.
We got through like 2 topics
like
total.
one
Yeah.
topic.
Talk about that game in particular because, like, the FlyQuest games, I was looking at as okay. Even though they fell 5,000 gold behind against Golden Guardians, in both games they had Johnson like 100 CS up on the other 80 carry. So I'm like, okay, like they're using the extra person to get their 80 carry ahead. But like EG, to me, just failed horribly with running the strategy. Generally, because they were even or behind, like on the map, they never got their 80 carry ahead. But then, like I thought about it a little bit more, their overall 5v5 comp was just way better scaling.
Yeah.
So the Dig team had Caitlyn Lux, Ahri mid, Xin jungle, and Renekton top, right? When you think like almost every single one of those picks is early game. But then EG actually just as a 5v5 had way better scaling. So was the Caitlyn like neutralized the early game enough? Like the game ended up being really boring, but if you can just make it boring and still win, then I think the strategy is OP. If you have to snowball, then I think it's more balanced.
This is why I was saying the team comp matters so much of what you're drafting it with and what you're against. Because we talked about this the entire time of that game during the cast.
Yeah.
Of how Dignitas invested everything in early game champions.
Right, they're the Renekton.
Caitlyn falls off
Caitlyn.
late game. Caitlyn is a lane bully, and even
Ahri,
more so on this patch, her AD per level was hit. The scaling was hit even more on Caitlyn. She is all about pushing on the turret. You have to get a CS lead. You have to get turret plates early. Renekton is the same thing for top side of the map. They invested so much in early game picks that they're going to get outscaled. So the people you can't have a rigid, viewpoint on this strategy and just be like, oh, all support roaming top
has to happen this way
have
or
to play
is
this
good.
way.
Yeah.
Because they invested on the EG side so much more in scaling, and that's why we keep pointing out, oh, the Corki and Jinx are going to scale, and so it doesn't matter that Dignitas have this 4,000 gold lead. Flowers asked me, how far do they have to be ahead? And I was like, multiple items on both their
This is how you know it's getting serious. Emily just broke out the notebook. So the notebook is out.
Down like a bunch of the timers.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is to return to why this actually is a good strategy to run against Dignitas. We've talked a lot in a really broad way about what River does for them early in terms of, he's not going to be a super efficient pathing jungler because in terms of farming, because what he's doing is affecting his lanes, right? And so when you're looking at the way they like to play around bot side, especially the way he likes to set up for his bot lane to have it push and then invade on blue side, this does actually stymie a lot of the acceleration that will happen with River affecting his lanes. Like, for example, because I did pull out my notes,
I love it.
At 355, River goes down to cover bot lane. Ordinarily, I remember that is typically the push where he gets his first vision coverage onto bot side, red side if he's on blue, invades, and then he likes to attack the enemy jungler on that side exactly to take down that bot turret. He isn't able to do that. Danny and Vulcan actually take a terrible trade in lane and end up having to back on a bad timer. So Dignitas get the push, but he doesn't get the full vision coverage that he usually would. And so it does stop a lot of the acceleration that we typically see from Dignitas early. So I wanted to point that out as well.
Oh, it was a super cool response, and I love that we, from an ideal perspective, it was a good strategy to run against Dignitas. Sure, it wasn't executed perfectly, and that's why it almost looked like it was going to be disastrous until we get to the mid game. And that's where also we pointed out the amount of farm that started to get funneled into Inspired just by virtue of catching waves, and then how uniquely positioned Olaf was with his ultimate and a Karma Shield to run straight through any of the stopping power of a Lux or an Ahri Charm or anything like that, and kind of throw all the fights into disarray.
Yeah, and part of it is how efficient these enchanters are with their support item and with the build on having less gold on Impact. Impact died twice by himself in the early stages of the game, and yet it
was still an
doesn't
effective
matter.
karma. I have a theory.
I'm gonna give you the final word on this before I try and push this forward.
I know Kobe was like, it's all about flexibility and stuff. I think everyone's asking, how do you beat this? You just pick more scaling.
Yeah.
I think that's the answer.
Yeah,
Scaling as everywhere you can.
Well, a lot of Lorlo as well as Sandu's games have ended really early with them snowballing. So
That's the
thing is,
problem.
so
but you're going to lose either way. if it goes late.
See what? It's not defined by your roaming
Yeah.
top. It's defined by the carries that
Yeah.
you choose
The
for your
carries you're
roaming top.
funneling the gold into.
Scaling carries.
Oh,
If,
no.
if you're going
So,
scaling,
Jat, here's the
if
thing.
you're
I'm going to
going early.
stop you because if anybody hops onto your idea, we're going to go from 50-minute games to 70-minute games, and then we're
No,
back to
like
82 minutes to
35.
dream, and I don't know if Kobe wants to go through that again.
That's one of my favorite
cast
memories
of all time. Yeah.
of League of Legends.
That's a good
God.
one. Okay, speaking of favorite memories, I kind of wanted to go off of the off-meta picks that we've been seeing so far and kind of ask you guys, hey, all time in your League of Legends careers, and this comes from Ryan here on Twitter, like, what are some weird off-meta memorable picks that you would love to see played again? Pretend they can become viable. Like, what did you enjoy playing? The idea I came up with, just as an example, was Ezreal jungle. I'm talking like NK Inc. days, Ezreal jungle. That was a lot of fun.
I
for
casted
me to
that one
watch.
too. I was so excited when that came out
Yeah.
because we had only heard rumblings in it. And I was like, oh my God, this is so perfect for it because then Ezreal can go to the lane and they can siege on bottom side.
Oh, my God.
That's definitely a good one. You're bringing back some good ones.
Yeah.
James.
Anybody got one? You got one?
Well, we were talking about this in the green room, but it was more like cursed strategies. Like,
Give me cursed.
like the
Give me cursed.
Zerot portal, or like, I wouldn't want these to come back.
forgot
but like
about
the
Zerot
Zerot
portal.
portals, or we were talking about this game where Snake Esports picked 4 banners of command.
Yeah.
But the other
Lord.
one, the one I did want to point out that's really funny, and sometimes it's still played in solo queue, I think, is something that SOFM and Flandre did with Rengar and Ivern duo.
Ooh, yeah.
It's very fun.
Those are fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
Azael, myself, and Phreak were going over this. He was looking up like the least played champs of all time.
Okay.
It was like Teemo was actually the least. Rammus and Mumu were on that list. I think any of those champions showing up is always fun. But to play in, my favorite was when you could build all the gold per 10 items.
Yes.
That was your
Specifically-
favorite?
No, the reason it was my favorite is I was doing it before other people were.
Of course.
So
Of course. Hey,
if I can go back to that
Jat's
time,
nothing if he's not a trailblazer.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I can go back to that time and I just have more gold than everyone else, the game is really,
Really
fun.
easy.
This is also cursed.
Miser Dad over here.
This is also
Scrooge.
cursed.
Oh, Philo Stone.
I
and,
would like to bring up a more exciting alternative
Please,
strategy.
save
One of the
me.
things that I liked in the past was when you had completely different builds for champions that ended up actually getting completely removed from the game. So if you remember like Skara's APE,
Yes.
Oh.
APE was a terror and should have gotten completely nerfed, but was actually pruned from the entire game.
Yeah, so
or
was gold for
AP
10 items.
Tristana with Deathfire Touch. That's really fun to play if you're the Tristana.
If you're the Tristana. But there's a reason why we don't see these things anymore. They generally
They're
were
degenerate.
unfun for a portion of players and therefore get removed.
I bet there could be a middle ground, maybe, you know, where you can have some versatility. 'Cause things like AP Lucian and AP Ashe exist as a ha-ha moment.
Mandate Ash on ARAM is broken.
Ooh, yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
That's why I
it
play it
gets like a
on
2-second
Summoner's
cooldown.
Rift, though, too, if I'm being honest, because it's just fun. Okay, I think producers want me to push, but I did want to bring us back to something a little bit more legitimate and LCS related to maybe this year.
Okay.
Which was this idea of metrics that you enjoy tracking, and I'm specifically looking at you, Jack, because I know you love looking at stats and things like that. So what's like a non-traditional metric that you enjoy tracking for players? You know, so outside of the standard CSD
Sure.
or, you know, things like that, is there anything that you in particular, for a specific role,
I know
new
mine.
players,
Yeah.
older players,
I like forward percentage.
forward
It's
percentage?
a really good one.
Why?
So-
What about that do you like?
Because it'll just give you more turns in lane. Like if you're consistently able to push up in lane, you'll generally be able to move first, and it just lets you be like a more active player. It's usually just a solidly good stat. What was yours?
Jungle proximity
Yeah.
is not shown on a lot of the public sites.
It's hard to find.
It's always
Yeah.
my favorite. Yes, I am biased as a jungler, but it really tells how a team likes to play. You know, what is the identity of this team?
Yeah.
Because it's not just about the jungler, it's about which carry the jungler is trying to focus on and, you know, where this team plays the majority of the time. Those types of stats is kind of similar to where people are playing.
Yeah.
Those ones are really interesting to me. So
It's
heat
indicative of
maps-
style.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Heat maps that can give more interesting info than KDA player, not KDA player, or this person got a pentakill, right?
So that was gonna be mine, but since Kobe took it, because I do like
Kobe.
that one. Another thing I like to do that's kind of random is I like to go team by team and look at kill participation. And not, again, this isn't like this team is good, this team it's bad. It's just to see like who is split pushing, how does this team play? Like, do they typically like 5v5 team fighting? And then looking at that within the context of their games can be really interesting to me, because sometimes I'll remember something incorrectly and I'll think like, oh, this team doesn't fight together all that much. And then I'll look at the stat and I'll be like, whoa, it kind of looks like they do. So now I have to go back and look at it.
Well, that's a good point, right? Because sometimes, too, you see a top laner with low KP and you're like, well, wait a second, they're playing split pushers. So it makes sense that they're not going to have like an 80+% kill participation. All right, just a couple thoughts from us. Kobe, I know you got to get going. Thank you so much for joining us on the waiting room, though, my friend.
You're
good
welcome.
to have you. And I think
last time, I actually ran out and left.
Yeah.
Can I just sit here
you can chill. You can totally chill right now.
Last time.
It was real running.
You
just
ran
He just did, just a short distance and then he
and
stopped.
as soon as you're off camera, you start
So
walking.
the first time you were on, we got through how many topics? Like 2 or 3? And today we got through 2 or 3?
Well, we had
We have a
5
solid
people last
average,
time.
and we know what to expect when we have Kobe on now. We're going to start tailoring the waiting rooms to the guests that we have. It's always a pleasure having you, buddy. We're going to wrap up waiting room and get ourselves into the day. Roll that show open. Welcome back to the LCS, where we've got a well-rested Raz joining us. Extra 30 minutes, my friend.
What were you cracking up about?
Yeah, wait, were you dying?
Were you in Twitch chat or something? Like,
No,
what were you
so
doing?
basically what happened was like, Kobe talking about, you were like, oh, it's nice to have you on, etc. Maybe you'd come back. I just flew into the shot and said,
Classic Raz, cracking himself up. Gotta love it. All right, well, today we have a plethora of narrative riches ahead of us as TSM hunt for that very first win of their split opposite a surging Golden Guardians. Now, resident super team, Team Liquid, they're gonna grapple against the still undefeated FlyQuest and 100 Thieves. They fight the face of evil. Ooh, I like that.
oh my goodness.
Dramatic.
Every single game today
Okay.
has a really cool storyline.
Yeah, we were going over this outside. I showed up 9 a.m., being tired as usual, and Jat quickly injected me with some hype.
Waiting for those COVID rapid tests.
Exactly.
Up every morning.
Yeah, it was a fun one today, but we got it here. We're ready to go. We kick things off with Immortals versus Cloud9. First and foremost, Immortals is on the board, baby!
They're huge! But no, it's great to be able to see that they're growing week by week. Like, lock-in performances, for any viewer that didn't get to watch lock-in, it's like they only lost 2 games, but no, 6 games up until this point. And so being able to find the win that they did versus 100 Thieves, especially a 2-0 team at that point, is a huge boost to them in morale.
I am glad that they won because they're definitely not the worst team.
Yeah.
Like, so many people are calling them the worst team. I'm confident they are not the worst team.
Okay.
So just keep it up.
Well, and right now they definitely aren't. There's
Yeah.
2 teams that are winless, and they are
there you
not
go.
at that.
Go.
So good to see them do that. We'll see if they can do the same against another behemoth in Cloud9 today. However, that said, my fellow parishioners, take heart and save a seat, because don't worry, C9 may have lost yesterday, but church, as we know, is on Sundays. And so we're looking for a little bit of redemption for this Cloud9 team
This is
today.
giving me terrible
Draft is
childhood flashbacks.
Draft
The room empty.
Draft is where it's got to start. Yeah, there's not too many people in attendance of the sermon, but I think that's because they may have been scared by the weird departure and left turn they took just yesterday.
Where is that?
That is,
draft?
Jat, That is broadcast magic, my
Yeah.
friends.
On the screen. I'm like, I want to see
Jack
the
looking
chat.
around the studio for it.
Yeah, these are the 3 drafts that they had. I can't ask them to zoom out if it's broadcast magic. I want to see them all at
No,
once.
it's already happened.
Basically, it's just, I thought there was a really interesting contrast in these drafts. So the first 2 weeks, you can see the Ivern and the Soraka in mid lane. That was like the Enchanter mid. The Sona was a counterpick to Yuumi, so even though it was double Enchanter, I don't really think that was the point of the comp. It was like, okay, they're just doing something different in mid lane, and that allowed Berserker and Blaber to really be enabled. Yesterday, they did the weird thing with Blaber on Karthus, which I know is a really popular Malice pick, who's their Academy jungler, and also someone else has coached in the past. Blaber was good at farming, but he got like 2 or 3 ults interrupted. He died a bunch of times out of position. So that was the first draft that I thought could have still been good and weird in isolation, but didn't fit the team as well as the weeks 1 and 2 drafts.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm glad you brought that up because again, the thing that we kept harping on with how Blaber was gonna fit into C9 is because he's so aggressive, you know, because he likes to go for these incredibly proactive plays, and shielding him and healing him and buffing him as he does that just enables him so much more, and that's what their first 2 drafts did.
Yeah, and if we're just focusing on those first 2 drafts, not only Blaber, but Berserker as well. And Berserker has been incredibly aggressive, on point. There are times where he's flashing over terrain, having full confidence in the Sona, of course, and the mid laner that Fudge is playing, either the Soraka or the Ivern.
Yep.
And so it's just great to see somebody who's able to perform so well consistently with the full faith of the supporting cast behind him.
Even in the loss yesterday, outside of like 1 play, I thought he looked still like incredibly, incredibly good in team fights.
Yeah, it was that one little move towards the Wolves that I know we've criticized to high hell after the Baron. But from there, as you mentioned, he's been an absolute joy to watch in team fights. Even that losing final fight where it's him and Fudge remaining, and as a 2v4 essentially, they almost pull it off.
Well, and it speaks so well to the confidence he has, and with not only in his own hands but also in his team, because he didn't make as many of these aggressive plays from what I remember seeing him in Challengers with T1 Challengers. So it just speaks to the fact that he feels really good on this team. He feels like they're going to back him up, so he can go in for stuff like that Aphelios flash ult.
Yeah, enabled by the draft. I think Winsome has been a gem as well. He's been performing quite well on the numerous picks that he had. The Thresh that you saw in the previous clip kind of showcases what he was able to do with the support of the Thresh. So it feels like he is absolutely confident in the environment that he's in, with a little practice that they've had, surprisingly.
Yeah, but from here, I have to return to Blaber, right?
back
Because
to it.
exactly what you talked about, Jet, so much of the focus in those drafts, at least those first 2, were around enabling Blaber. And when he has a come-down game like he did yesterday on the Karthus, is it as simple as just, reverting and putting him back in a position where he was successful? What's the answer? And does he have, the makings to be the primary carry for this team based on the way they're looking to play?
Yes, he absolutely has those makings. I think he was the primary carry for Cloud9 when they went 17-1 and won a split back when he won MVP in 2020 spring. But also, I don't have a problem with him playing Karthus, by the way.
Okay.
Like, I just think it didn't work and they didn't win that game, but it also doesn't matter. Like, I think they're going to be a good team regardless, and they want to be able to play, from the looks of it, through multiple different carries, which is actually very ambitious for any team, even though every team tries to do it. But I'm like, 2 weeks into the season, play Karthus again.
Okay.
Like, just go for it. Try and farm it up.
Yeah, 100%. Going into multiple styles the first 3 weeks, 4 weeks before you even have to start thinking about playoffs, right? If you're that confident as you are as a team, start feeling out where you are flexible and where you can't go, right?
Yeah.
Because when you find out you can't do a certain thing and it's going to take too much effort, it's okay, at least store that in the back of your thought, see if it's going to be relevant in the future patches, but then hone in on where you're strong at. Right now, I think they're doing a great job around that.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is an excellent point. Like, we're only in week 2, right? And one of the things that we've really enjoyed watching in the LCS is how different teams have been bringing different strategies to the table. I thought it was really interesting that of all teams, it was C9 switching up from week 1 so dramatically. Yeah. Not that it's not something that they probably haven't practiced with Academy, because like Jat pointed out, Malice does play the Karthus, he plays stuff like the Hecarim, the Evelynn. But yeah, I mean, I really actually liked the attempt from C9, even though it didn't work out.
Yeah, sometimes you just you expect to wait for the loss before you see the pivot and strategy. They went for the pivot first, the loss came afterwards. Oh well, would like to see them do it again. Let's talk predictions here in this first game. Obviously, Cloud9 still probably looking like the favorite to many, but Jat, you say that Immortals is not the worst team in the league.
They are not the worst team.
So how good are they?
Not better than Cloud9 right now. That's what I'm guessing.
All right. So
But maybe in a best of one.
He gave you the option.
maybe in a best of one.
Yeah.
I was giving him a chance. You're going Cloud9 over
I
here,
like the
Raz?
hope and faith. I'll go Cloud9.
Cloud9. We got Cloud9 in the middle, and
Shocker. I'm also going to go Cloud9.
you know, yesterday my analysts all went one way, and I was like, I think Dignitas got this. It was so close.
Yeah.
And then it didn't go my way. I'm with you guys. It's Cloud9.
This game could go either way.
It could go. That is a fact of League of Legends. This game could go either way, but we
Burning
only have
cake.
one place to go from here, and that's the caster desk. Phreak and Azael, take it away.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the Caster Desk. We are, as always, the Doug Duo. That is Azael, I am Phreak.
Are we always the Doug Duo?
Since back in time, when we first met each other,
Yeah.
it was instantly the Doug Duo.
What if we're apart? Are we still the Doug Duo?
No, but we are, right? Like, individual, like,
But
we
we're
become
still
individuals.
existing, right?
No, but the operative word is we are,
Okay.
right? You know? And I think it's important here that we take some time to reflect on the fact that, you know, yesterday, TL got lucky. It was Saturday, right? It doesn't count. Sorry. I didn't mean to say Golden Guardians. I meant to say Golden Guardians, didn't I? No, yeah, I meant to say Team Liquid. Yesterday, Team Liquid was lucky that it was Saturday. Today is Sunday. It is time for Church 9. It is time for LS, to forgive us our daily Marilla Numcon, as we forgive those who Marilla's against us, and just pick Soraka for Fudge. I asked him, is it going to be back to Soraka today? And Fudge gave me the biggest sigh I have heard from any person, and you've met me. I make stupid puns all the time.
You
An
hear a
even
lot of
bigger
sighs,
sigh.
that's true, yeah.
The man does not want to play Soraka, but it's available.
Maybe it's just a mind game, He's just trying to act like he doesn't want to play Soraka. But really, he's here for it. Karma first pick could be, if they're going towards that, it's honestly a three-way flex. So I do think it's pretty strong. It's one of the reasons that a lot of people were kind of asking, why is Karma getting banned instead of Janna? If Janna roaming Smite top is better, well, Karma actually works really well with Ezreal bot. You can even play it mid in supportive styles if you want to have a carry jungler.
Yep.
So early picking Karma, very powerful. Cloud9, I think, has been making a lot of use out of flex picks, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that they did yesterday with their kind of flex on the early Aurelia pick. They've done this with one early Enchanter pick and then, grabbing a second one late in the draft to really kind of round it out. It's going to be interesting to see if they match the rest of the roles, here on the Immortal side. They are going to go support, so we know it's unlikely, unless it is Karma support, then they could grab Ezreal and we could have a jungler picked up here for Xerxe and then kind of have parity in those first three picks. But interested to see where Cloud9 takes us.
Yeah, I am really curious because it's almost going to be the 100 Thieves special from the beginning games of Summer Split last year, where it was Abadaga on a bunch of Karma games, and
A lot of people
actually it worked out.
backing Cloud9 there. 95% off of 2 picks. Wow.
The congregation is out. I like that. Flex pick Karma, we're just so much about it, Good, yep. Always like the Renekton hover. LS, I think that's a smile behind the mask right there. It goes over to Aatrox. Yeah, there's the... I mean, honestly, they've already got Xin Zhao. It's not going to happen right here. Just going through a bunch of champions. He has played some of those, right? Fudge's Lee Sin actually quite
Was
clean.
really good. Yeah, his top Lee Sin was obviously quite popular for a while. Would be exciting to see something like this, but I doubt we're going to get it. If you're going to match roles, it feels like Ezreal makes a lot of sense.
Called it.
That is one of those super strong duos. So very likely it does mean that it is Karma Ezreal bot lane. Of course, this does not guarantee it. They have not been a team to actually do the Smite top stuff, so maybe they're not interested in it at all. But you could, of course, still grab another support, in the last couple of picks, and then surprise, Summit's playing this top, or surprise, Fudge is actually bringing this out as a new enchanter in the mid lane. But I'm expecting that this is just bot lane. We have parity in the draft so far through the roles. So a little bit of focus on solo lane is going to be coming out from both sides. Banning out some of the kind of classic PoE picks. Syndra is a big one for him. Ahri is something that has really rose in popularity since the little mini rework or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. And it was C9's first ban, right? 'Cause, this is not one we're letting up. He played it even beforehand, as you mentioned.
And PoE has been tweeting about it, posting, screenshots and stuff of him popping off on it. So it's an obvious one to take away. Viktor is kind of conspicuously absent from the pick and ban. But I would say of the meta champions, that was Fudge's most comfortable one. So if they wanted to just go a standard meta mid, you could actually take Viktor here. It's pretty strong. It's a takeaway from PowerOfEvil as well. Of course, there are things like Orianna and Azir and whatnot that are available.
Here you go, buddy. We got an Iron hover. Thank you, Berserker. Yeah, I want to, and he's
I
like,
will not be baited.
Yeah, if I was like, yeah, I like that one. Give me that one.
Oh.
Zilean comes through.
I think it's Zilean support.
Okay.
That is actually my bet, is that we are going to have Zilean support, because it is more popular in that role. Yes, everyone thinks of Bjergsen mid playing it, but he's the only mid laner in major regions that's actually playing it. We've seen Hillsong as well as a few other people in LEC have actually brought it out in support. And as far as solo queue goes, I've been seeing a lot more Zilean Emax support lately. If you think you're against not a super strong lane, you can actually scale incredibly well through this, and you kind of just try to survive that lane. The gank assist is actually really good. You can play well with your jungler. Again, though, it could be a flex pick, and Cloud9 really is highly prioritizing that. Because really, you don't know. Is this Summit's Karma top? Is this mid lane, Zilean? Is it actually a Karma bot? Is it a support Karma? Like, you don't really know what's going on for sure.
Both champions are in any one of those 3 lanes right now, like realistically. Now, personally, I will say I do not like Zilean support right now, because I think Jinx Leona is a good lane, and Ezreal's 1v2ing, because Zilean is instantly dead if he's ever in range of flashy from Leona.
I will say, if you go Guardian and you start Relic Shield, it's actually like relatively hard with Bone Shield and stuff to be able to actually 100 to 0 the Zilean. You do become relatively tanky. With those builds, you often have to grab a tier or something and kind of supplement your mana, but I do think there's ways around it. And we're going to find out exactly where they want to go. Malphite would be a great pick into the Jace as far as the 1v1. It's Viego as well.
Wow.
So it is going to be Summit playing Malphite top. And will it be Zilean mid? That feels most likely as the pairing, with the Karma Ezreal makes the most sense spot. So bringing out a new pick here for Fudge. Zilean, I do think, is actually really hard to play well. I think the laning phase is extremely poor in mid lane. This is one of the things that you have got to be really adept at. It's so easy as an inexperienced Zilean player to actually mess up your own farm with the bombs. You have to be on point with that in the early levels. Once you have enough AP, brain is kind of off. You just throw a bomb in on your own minion, then you double bomb, and it kind of kills everything. But in the early levels, we're gonna have to see how good Fudge is at this champion. But I think they've built a really strong composition, one that is very difficult to pin down, one that can kite back, one that can hard engage. Zilean pairs really well, with the Zhao as an aggressive pick. It also makes it almost impossible to actually dive on and kill the Ezreal, who's already very slippery if you have the revive for him as well. So this is going to be a super interesting one, whereas on the other side, Immortals obviously playing a much more standard comp. You have 2 super powerful team fighters here with the Viktor, with the Jinx, the Jace for kind of that early pressure, somewhat of a revenge popular pick, and one that he can play pretty aggressively.
It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to see what happens in each of these lanes. Keep in mind, we've got some name synergy in the top lane. Summit on a Malphite. You're stacking that one together already. We're hoping for Mountain Soul to even keep it all going. I think that'll be fun to look at. I will say, Zilean to me is an Enchanter mid laner. This is 3 for 4 for Enchanters for Fudge. He is there to supplement his teammates. I think Zilean quintessentially hits that mark, right? Bunch of teammate buffs, a little bit of CC, a little bit of everything else going on there. And it's going to be a lot of fun. We saw those tweets. Immortals looking for a little alcove date, but Cloud9, nah, sorry, we got Viktor dinner plans.
That's very funny. So, some shenanigans potentially up on the top side. You can see on the mini-map, Immortals sending 3 players top. They were just trying to see if Summit would actually be camping in the brush. Summit, very standard stuff when you're going Malphite into ranged carries. You do often go Comet, you Q-Max. This is kind of how you poke them down. Revenge is not going the defensive option of second win plus D-Shield. A lot of players do like that because it just kind of negates all of the poke damage that Malphite can put out early. He's instead going for the other option of just buying a lot of potions, right? You go Longsword 3-pot, you just get that to kind of get you through those earlier stages, and then you're saying your secondary runes are going to be more powerful and more useful later on. So we'll have to track how he does. Because I do think while Jace can bully in the early levels, once Malphite gets some armor, once he gets some levels under him, it's very difficult to continue pushing that wave and continue having threat. And post 6, if the jungler's there, you are dead unless you flash the Malphite ult. So I do always really like this pick for Malphite players. It's one of my favorite lanes, and it's something that I think is just a lot easier to get value out of than the Jace.
And Revenge is trying to sit around and make sure he knows what's going on. Then wants to play, of course, behind Summit. That ward is already there for him, so he can auto-attack him. And yeah, is going to pull ranged minion aggro, so I want to see how much damage comes through back at him because the casters are attacking. Keep in mind, there are more health potions for Revenge. He's able to get the melees for the most part. And Summit down to 1/4 mana already.
Yeah, and this is one of those things, because he had that early lane ward, it actually makes such a big difference in this matchup. And this is why you'll sometimes see teams, with the melee champion on their side, they will actually send people top with a sweeper to sweep that brush, because that allows you to step in and out of the brush, not be getting constantly harassed. Generally you're playing mana flow band as the Malphite in this matchup, and in kind of an ideal world, you have less frequent trades, and you can kind of just queue every time the mana flow band proc is actually ready, so you don't just hammer through your mana that fast. But as you can see, with the D shield, he is fine, and especially anytime you can recharge your passive between trades, it's going to go really well for you as Malphite. You want to kind of just make sure you're not overextending and really getting hammered there.
Early lane, of course, going to go Viktor's way, though. Pretty much impossible to lose this lane as the Viktor in the heads-up one-on-one. I think it's like level 7 or so when Zilean gets comfortable wave clear. Gets to feel better. Revenge pushing in.
Oh, nice sidestep.
Yeah, that's 2 shock blasts in a row. I have seen Summit dodge. Of course, chugs his final potion, will go back to nearly full health, and that's a cannon lost. Just could have ditched the melee minion and just saved the auto attack for that one. Was between cooldowns otherwise. Summit last hitting well enough, and the question is, does top lane crash at an appropriate time to dive this man?
Yeah, and I don't think that they're gonna actually be there in time. Like, it looks like it's gonna crash too early. You can see Xerxe on the minimap. He's still actually clearing out his camps. He's still down here. He is moving up towards Scuttle, but he would have already wanted to be, in that brush basically for it. The kind of tracker here for me is not what the CS differentials is in solo lanes now. It's actually once the wave crashes, how much can you pick up under tower as the Malphite, as the Zilean, because you are going to see the push. There's just nothing you can do about it. But if you can keep it close, you're going to be feeling pretty good about your chances here. And it's really difficult, I think, especially as the Zilean, to actually be able to farm this out properly. Attack speed rune actually becomes incredibly important, because if you don't have the attack speed rune, you can't actually prep and last hit the range minions with your auto fast enough. So that is why a lot of Zilean players will still go towards that. And you got to really learn your damage thresholds on what HP is that bomb going to be put to. We'll see if he can prep it with the E slow, but he's too low, I think.
Kiwi has no mana, so Fudge is pretty safe, but yeah, Blaber is going to land that one. It's going to hurt. So into the bottom lane we go, flashing to safety. Destiny wanted in, but it's going to be a flash out. Winsome going to stay alive. Berserker able to just arcane shift out. So both ganks kind of forcing flashes.
He's going to try to go back around. It looks like Xerxe is holding here, but there is a ward. I'm not sure that he realizes that there is. And Berserker's playing back. Winsome is actually playing this smart. You play behind the Ezreal who still has his sums, and that's not gankable. That's only gonna work, waiting around there. If Winsome steps back up to harass, then you get the wraparound, and that would be an easy kill.
Yeah, nothing happening down there. First Phreak comes through for Xerxe, though. Gets the first parts and some decent damage, but again, Ezreal relatively safe. Thankfully, with a wave, it's always going to be safe for Immortals. Looks like Berserker holding Arcane Shift for a while. Winsome sidesteps a zap and going to be fine. Small gold lead to Immortals. I want to point out a quick stat, by the way. Guess Immortals' highest gold lead so far this season.
I mean, at what? At any time?
At any point in time.
Is it this right now?
395.
Okay.
Their highest gold lead at any point in time in any game they have played has been under 400 gold.
If they get a kill right now,
they will set their record for 2022 LCS for gold lead.
It's not a good stat.
Yeah. Guess Cloud9's lowest gold deficit at any point. And keep in mind, they've lost the game.
Lowest gold deficit.
Yeah, like worst gold deficit they've ever had at any one point.
Oh, I don't know, 8,000 or something?
2,500.
Okay. That's actually, I was thinking of a different team. 2,500 was that first game, I believe, that they played.
Golden Guardians? Yeah, they dipped like 2,200 on that one. EG 2,400, Team Liquid 1,300. And that's the one they actually even lost, was like the very end they finally came back. So like Cloud9 tends to play games close to ahead. Immortals tends to play them close to behind and then like has come back once.
It's interesting though, because Cloud9 has lost every single early game that they've played. Yeah. Right? Well, gold-wise, right?
Yeah,
I know people will be quick to argue, hey, they're actually game state, they're still ahead because they have these enchanters and whatever. But this will be interesting. They have the ward on Xerxe, and Winsome's here to support.
I need to nerd out about tech. I was going to bring up at the beginning of the game, and I was like, no, he's not going to do it. Summit went Warden's Mail. Thank you. Warden's Mail is so much better than Bramble Vest early on against auto attackers. Bramble Vest deals 3 damage back to Jace. You're not poking Jace out of lane anyway. That damage doesn't matter. It does nothing for you. Warden's Mail like blocks 12 damage per auto, which is absurdly good and actually guarantees you don't get pushed out of lane. Plus, you actually want the item and upgrades into, aka a Randuin's or a Frozen Heart. So, like, much, much better item. I haven't seen other Malphites go for this build yet. He might not be the first, but, like, it's the first I have seen. It is so much better. Please, everyone, if you're building tank and a Jace, Warden's Mail is your item.
The only caveat I will give, if that's the best defensive item, and I'm going to agree 100% with that. But I do think sometimes what you actually get forced back to base on is your mana more than your health in these kind of lanes. And that's why sometimes you do see people just go like tier and they build towards Fimbulwinter, things like that, early on, or even just like a Glacial Shroud to be able to have a little bit of mana. But obviously incredible defensive item. And I do agree, the value of the Bramble Vest is more if you can actually find an all-in kill. If you can, find that, then the heal reduction becomes more valuable against Vamp Scepter. But in these cases, it's going to make him really hard to move. And Summit's kind of like already at the point where Jace can't really do that much against him. Like he's actually just chilling, freezing the wave on him at this point because there's no wards. If you actually look at what the map is right now for Jace, where's the furthest ward out that he has? It's literally nowhere. They have no vision on this entire section of the map. So he's got no idea where anything is in this area. And if you ever get ulted, like I said,
Speaking of,
you've got to flash it. So he has to play so far back. Anytime Summit moves forward, he must back up. And this is just really, really tough. Summit gonna give up the freeze. I feel like he should have just tanked that, to be honest, but...
Gonna straight line Bud. There you go, gets the knockback. He's gonna be fine. Doesn't take the W. Yeah, Revenge is gonna get out there, no problem. You saw Fudge look for the roam for a second and drops it. 10 CS difference in mid as PoE clears the wave in. Fudge will have to walk back to lose some of it.
Yep. I think Summit was able to actually pull the wave back out. So yeah, he pulled it to the brush, so he still maintains the freeze. And he's essentially up in farm now. It's not showing it, but like he is once he actually picks up the rest of this. And you're going to be feeling pretty happy about this. And this is where it gets really, really difficult. Oh, excuse me. So he had already blown the flash. We missed that off screen. So that is what kind of prompted that next gank. I'm going to be able to get that out. But it does mean now Revenge really can't do much.
Yeah.
Just using the ult there to actually delay a recall is something that I think we're seeing a lot more of. Jinx using ult for scouting, Jinx using ult to just stop a recall, realizing that a lot of times in these earlier stages of the game, there's not a lot of action. It's not about a big team fight, so you can kind of get some small value from that.
And I want to keep my mind actually on the top lane play we saw. I was going to go to the replay because if there's no jungler, Revenge can just tank Malphite ult, right? And just
but you don't know. He has no wards.
Right, and that's the point is back to your point about no wards is Revenge didn't have to burn Flash with full vision because he goes to half and then vamps back up and like no one cares. He burns Flash with like, oh, but if there's Zhao, I'm dead. Has no way of knowing that because he has no coverage and it's like, wow, I understand the play, right? From his POV, it makes sense as a play, but where are the wards? Like, where are the homies at? Like, give this man some vision so we can play up on the edge.
Well, and especially when they've actually had pushing lanes, right? The PowerOfEvil has had Fudge pushed in. We're going to see PowerOfEvil in trouble here. Does have a flash.
Well-aimed stun is going to keep him away from the jungler, but the stun's going to land as well. They get the follow-through, and that's going to be first blood on the board. Fudge claims it. Well done, Cloud9, 3v1 in mid.
Nice pressure there, and now, off of that, Fudge is going to be kind of off to the races. He already has his tier, already has his lost chapter, so he's kind of in that comfort zone. And credit to Fudge, he's down a little bit of farm, but really he got through that kind of awkward early stage on the Zilean very, very well. And now he's just straight up ahead, going to be able to push this in, going to be able to reset on a really nice timing. Expecting it'll just be Everfrost. That's definitely the most standard. There's just so many nice setups you can do with it. You can root out of a double bomb. You can E-slow into Everfrost root into a double bomb. And a lot of nice combos are available there. And it will, in fact, be that Everfrost. So Cloud9 are in just such an incredible position, I think, in these early stages. With no flash on Revenge, with him already kind of, at parity with the Malphite, you are definitely very far behind as far as kind of where you would want to be in this game. Ezreal is also up 20 plus CS. And Xerxe is just kind of chilling farming, hasn't really been able to find any angles because there are some pretty difficult lanes to gank for him. But it does mean that the team fights are going to be incredibly hard. Like, just to be able to actually take down the Ezreal ever is so tough.
Good flash by Winsome. Once again, Destiny able to force the flash out the opposing support. Haven't seen a dive work yet, but now we've got Xerxe on the way over. Mantra is ready for a bigger shield, but the wave gets cleared out. No dive just yet. A ward over the wall into the brush helps him know if there's going to be a defensive ward ever, but Fudge is now on the move. He's going to spot him. Information known now about Xerxe. PoE coming back around for a 2-on-1, but not going to take that play either. Cloud9 able to still play under the turret. Blaber clears up the ward, and the coverage is there. Immortals, sadly, still have not found an aggressive play this game.
Yeah, they were trying to posture aggressively there, see if they could get some sort of a wraparound, some sort of a play, but not really able to find it. And I don't think this is actually going to work out for them if they go aggressive.
Aggressive hit, good stun there. Destiny incredibly low, forced a flash back over. A bit much for the Immortal squad. They look aggressive, and that one backfires right away.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they actually had eyes on the fact that Berserker completed his base, so maybe they got pretty nervous knowing that they weren't going to be able to get the initial kill. You know, Xin pops the ulti, he's going to be able to turn that around. Unless Xerxe wanted to full commit to it and like flash over the wall or ult over on him, they weren't going to be able to do that. Tit for tat, stop a recall with the Jinx ulti. Now one gets actually stopped here by the Ezreal. And Fudge just kind of chilling farming. When you get ahead of the curve, if you don't have a bad early laning phase on the Zilean, it becomes extremely trivial to actually farm this out. Full Frozen Heart already done now for Summit. Going to be really good against the Jinx, against the Jace, against the Viego. So really high value on this. And that kind of solves his mana problem. So it's not going to be a Fimbulwinter game. You know, my guess is he is going to go into, you know, probably just like Tabbies. And, you know, you can go randoms if you want to be super efficient. But I do think that going towards Thornmail second actually does have quite a lot of value. Once you have some armor behind it, you can easily apply that, and it makes it really tough for the Jace in the 1v1.
You apply some Grievous when you land your ulti, otherwise you don't get any empowered Grievous, but, you know, can be efficient otherwise against stacked AD. Looking at the top side against Summit, sidestepping Revenge's damage. A turret plate may have fallen. The Herald Summon will get 2 more as well, but worth noting that Summit actively ahead in CS in this lane, with very little help. Attention towards the bottom side, going to be a lot of damage and nearly a kill. Winsome, we know he is flashless, and he is going to be helpless now as well. Immortals on the board, a Herald crash top, working pretty well also. Blaber is going to find TP up defensively for Revenge if needed. PoE the same, and sometimes for WildTurtle means no dive, but plate number 4 drops in the top lane, and Immortals have finally claimed back a gold lead.
Yeah, gonna be up a little bit there, but still, things I think going pretty rough for them overall. C9's position in this game, I think, is just so good. They have multiple tiers stacking up. You know, the Essence Reaver's already through. Knockback there from Blaber, and trying to set up some sort of a play, but it doesn't look like it's really going to amount to much. At the very least, they deny the push-in, so Fudge collects the wave top, is able to come back mid and pick up another little bit of farm there. So almost fully caught up now with PowerOfEvil. I wonder if this is going to be a crown game from Berserker. It kind of feels like that build. You know, Essence Reaver, Muramana, go crown third. You can go Duskblade for a little bit more damage, but crown just has so much value in making it very difficult to ever get caught out and punished that I do think it's just kind of like the better option, right? The extra damage from Duskblade almost never really feels worth it to me.
Yeah, this is basically the defensive option, right? So Essence Reaver allows you a different mythic. It's you know, you're not going to go Lichbane, so it's basically the only non-mythic Sheen option. The actual math of Essence Reaver versus, say, Trinity Force is like 160 bonus AD to make it as good as Triforce, which is, you know, 5-item Ezreal, which is like fairly unrealistic, right? So it is a lower damage build. That can be fine if your goal is infinite mana, crown for defensive, and now a chance at Destiny. Here's going to be rooted in place. Flash should still be down, and that means decent damage, half HP, but tanky enough that they're going to live. Zap and a Blaber, a ward kill. Top lane turret's going to fall. Bit of money comes back towards Immortals.
And I think it's actually really valuable to have that Essence Reaver just because mana becomes such a non-issue, especially when you're playing with another mana-hungry champion like Zilean. You know, Zilean, even with tier, no matter what build you want, you really do want blue buffs. You will get such high CDR that you're spamming out constantly, and you will go right? It can be a problem in some of these long team fights, especially late game, where your ulti cooldown is so long, you can sometimes get these multiple ultimates off in a long extended team fight. You've got to have the mana to be able to do that. So both champions going to be kind of fine, honestly, overall with the mana problems with this build.
And the wave clear keeps happening, honestly. Viktor scales reasonably well. Zilean, I will say, out-scales him in terms of just gets better and better and better as time goes on. I think he looks really good in late-game teamfights, as long as your team overall like has damage.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Like, I really look at Zilean as like a force multiplier, right? If you have someone that's doing really well or playing really well, it is incredibly valuable. It's one of my favorite mid-lane picks. I like playing it a lot. But you need to have a carry that's doing well, and C9 do have that with Berserker. This guy has been getting so much attention for how well he is playing, how well he is positioning, how much damage he's able to get out in the team fights, and it's worth playing supportive style when you have these really strong carries. You know, Fudge talked about it with Blaber in an interview. I think Berserker as well is another guy that they're just building around very heavily. You know, it's Malphite and 2 supports here, really for Blaber and Berserker.
So we watch them. We watch them closely. Make sure that Cloud9's comp's going to work out as time moves on. 330 gold lead right now for Immortals. Getting closer to their all-season record. If they can get a little bit more on the board. The question is, though, can they actually win this game against Cloud9? As sadly for Jace, he hasn't gotten much done in his side lane. Has killed a turret. has gotten Herald, so you can't really give him nothing for that one. But, you know, we're ready for a team fight Malphite against Triple AD, and that's going to look pretty good in most cases as he sees the entire enemy squad.
Yeah, I think a lot of it will come down to can actually Revenge land much poke prior to the fight. You know, if you can hit a couple shock blasts prior, then the AoE damage coming through, you know, from someone like the Viktor can be threatening, because Viktor does really kind of excel when you're hitting, you know, multiple targets, and then the Zilean has difficult choices about who to ult. When it is all single target damage and you're just trying to 100-0 one person, that's where Zilean's job becomes incredibly easy. So finding flanks, finding opportunities to where, you know, people are getting hit by Jinx rockets and Viktor lasers and all these things at the same time after being poked down is going to make Cloud9's job hard. But if it is just a straight forward, walk at you kind of fight where it is 5v5 from full health, Cloud9 I think is going to excel so much in that sort of a fight.
Leveling up Berserker. Thank you for level 11 as they've brought Fudge into the mid lane. The whole squad is grouped to play towards the bottom side. They're going to be stacking their second dragon here, moving towards Hextech. The best Rift from ahead, the best soul from ahead, IMO at least. Revenge has help from Xerxe, but it's not going to do much. Sorry, I should say Destiny, his teammate in that brush. But it wasn't Cloud9 trying to answer the Jace. It was Cloud9 playing for the bottom side. And in fact, with all this control, with all this pressure, mid pushed in, 7-second Herald, that is nearly the entire turret. Won't quite kill it, but it's going to be low, and on a future wave, they can knock that one entirely down. Dragon is now up, and with Immortals, 2 of them showing in the mid lane, have a chance of pushing it down early. They can reinforce.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to contest or not. I mean, Malphite has unleashed TP, so I think it's risky unless you're super confident that there's no flanking wards whatsoever. So it looks like, yeah, the pings are going to be on towards that mid lane tower. The TP is coming through here. PowerOfEvil's got to be careful.
Look in. Summit is here. Double stun, good. Double flash, but that is still 2 summoner spells down. Mid lane turret under fire, but will not drop. And Jace's wave was already pushed out very far. The fact is, Summit pushed top well beyond the outer turret before the TP, which meant there's no recompense for Jace in the top lane. Yeah, his TP is up, but no one's going to care about that one. The turret's barely going to get crashed on, and someone's going to be there to grab the wave.
Yep, not going to get much damage down on the tower. Not enough time to even steal away that red buff, and now Revenge is dead.
Oh my gosh.
Way overstayed his welcome. They got to walk from Dragon Pit to topside, and you were still there, so Revenge gonna give over an easy kill here, unfortunately, on the top side, donating that gold even to Fudge. That will buy them time to take down the mid lane tower, so maybe a little bit more worthwhile in that regard, and they get a couple camps off it. So Immortals do at least strike back with the pressure that he kind of created on that top side.
You get the biggest gold lead. 640, Immortals. Breaking records so far. We'll see if they can break ankles as time moves forward. The problem is, though, I don't know if Cloud9 feel uncomfortable at this game state.
No.
You know, they're 2 dragons right now, so not far from potential Hextech Soul, and Ezreal's going to be very soon to his Manamune, and we can see, hey, if you fight in the next 4 minutes, okay, 2.5 minutes, you got to flash the Viktor to kill.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be very difficult for him. You can't really play without flash against Malphite as a carry that doesn't have a dash. It's very difficult. Yep. You know, Jinx, sometimes you'll see people go into Gale Force just to try to dodge those types of things, but obviously this is a Kraken game.
Yeah.
Summit's going to have his Mythic before the next fight, and then we'll get to see, you know, does he want to go towards a Thornmail, or does he feel like he needs more MR and go towards an Abyssal or something like that, which can be quite strong. To kind of amp your own damage, as well as some of the magic damage from the Ezreal, the magic damage from the Zilean.
Yeah.
So definitely the options will come through after that, but Mythic's going to be coming in, you know, next item for a couple of these carries. You know, for Berserker, of course, he has his second item, so expecting him to be working towards Crown. And we'll see where they go from there, but Cloud9 is happy as long as they are playing this slow. You know, there is really good scaling as far as the DPS on the Immortal side, but I just think it's difficult for their team comp to actually really kind of match up against what Cloud9 has.
And I think Cloud9's happy looking at the scoreboard because PowerOfEvil's building Void Staff with no other AP threats on his team. The Viktor players out there, Lichbane every time. Item got buffed. It is absurdly going to Viktor just to buy a Lichbane. It's going to be correct in 99% of games. And PoE is not against a single MR item except one Null Magic Mantle.
Yeah.
There is one Null Magic Mantle. Void Staff is objectively wrong for Viktor in this game. He is the only AP threat, build for damage. You can reactively buy Void Staff once you're 6-0, but guess what? You're 0-1-0 with equal farm to a Zilean. No one's scared of you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that Lichbane is something that's pretty overlooked. You know, ever since it got the ability haste, it is actually a lot stronger than I think people are kind of giving it credit for, you know, even just as a second item here pretty early. If you're worried about being able to close the gap with range, then I think sometimes, you know, it's arguable that you should just go a different AP item, a different modifier. You can go Cosmic and things like that. or even build towards just death cap. But I agree, Void Staff is just not it in this game when there's so low MR. It's just doesn't really make any sense. You want to take advantage of the fact that they have stack armor.
Yeah. And Lich even gives move speed if you want to close the gap. I think Cosmic is good as well, by the way, don't get me wrong. I think if you're looking for a generically good second item on a mage, Cosmic's always fine.
Yep.
It's 30 haste, it's solid AP. If you're going to play any moderately long combat pattern, it's 100 AP when it stacks up. So, like, that one's fine in all cases. But yeah, in this case, I think Void is pretty horrifically terrible here. And that's going to be unfortunate because he's going to be power troughed for a very long time, spending 1,000 gold on basically no stats.
Longsword coming through from Berserker. So now I'm a little bit curious if he actually is going to go Duskblade. I definitely would not have expected it. Because Crown is so much more common. I'm not actually sure if I've seen a pro game where they went this build into Duskblade or not. You do see it in solo queue from time to time when people just want to kind of have that little bit of extra damage.
Yep.
And I mean, if your read is, I actually don't need any item safety because I have Zilean and Karma, then sure, okay, I buy that, right? If the onus is on you to get every little bit of damage, then maybe that's going to be worthwhile, but Crown really does often allow you to get more damage out because you can play so aggressively.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult. You can shift in aggressively, knowing that if Leona engages into Crown, the follow-up damage is not going to be there. You're not going to get 100 to 0'd before the Zilean and the Karma can react. So it's definitely a trade-off, but will be interesting to see if it's just a random longsword for like an Executioners or something, and then into Crown, or if it is in fact going to be Duskblade.
Yeah, I want to point out the possibility in the back of my head is Ruin King, which I actually went and researched before this weekend's game.
Skip Mythic.
I don't think it's Ruin King. It is not performant on Ezreal, even after the buffs in the patch. Any item slot, Ruin King is worse than replacement, so I don't expect that to be the build. But we got a fight now in the mid lane. Good old for Blaber buys a lot of time, can't take any damage, and already Revenge down to 1/3 HP. Can they find the re-engage? Cloud9 haste him, flashes in, gets a slow, and that's going to be a bomb. That's Revenge dropping. Goodbye to the top lane. Cloud9 get ready to grab their third dragon after that kill.
Immortals just scattered in different directions, and as soon as you split off there, Zilean, Karma will chase you down. So much speed ups. You have to stay together as a squad, or there's just no escape. And now Xerxe trying to wrap around here, see if he can get a steal, but it's just not going to happen. So Cloud9, they get an easy kill. They grab a third dragon here. That was a nice try there from Turtle. Good timing on the rocket. But too little, too late, and they didn't even need the Malphite there. That was a 4v5, and because of the way Immortals actually played out the fight, Cloud9 still come out on top.
And so, slow and steady. Cloud9 are happy to say, hey, uneventful early game, maybe we're behind, doesn't really matter. Their mid-game team fighting has always been better.
Yep, they do find Blaber here, and they decide we're going to go in onto Blaber. They get him with the chompers. They do engage, but really good buffer timing before Leona could stun him on the ultimate, knocking Leona back and really denying any sort of damage. And then as Xerxe's running off here, Turtle's running off to the side, there's no longer any threat, so everyone is just going to pile in the middle, get that chase down, get the initial kill, and now looking for this pick. Oh, nice root, though.
Yeah, danger towards Fudge, has the ulti self-cast, it stun's not going to matter. Xerxe's going to get nothing done. Stop wasting the damage. Knocked into the air, he should drop as well. The bomb won't quite kill, but Blaber, wind becomes lightning, and Xerxe becomes 300 gold. Destiny's going to be found that his is just to die again and again and again. 1-4, soon to be Immortals record in this game. Maybe even in the season, as yes, Baron's on the table. That's going to be a pretty easy pickup for Cloud9.
Yeah, Cloud9 punishing heavily there. Really well played by Fudge. Heads up, Everfrost gets the root on the deep play. Revenge TPing in, though. They're going to try to fight for this.
Pee-wee has some really good damage. Ulti's on, and that's a nice snipe. Turtle finds one. 2k health in the Baron. Should be smiteable, will be claimed. At least one kill back in the board. Immortals get something done. Blaber on the chase. He's got haste from one. Gets another one here. He's going to look for Revenge. Look for the knockup. Ulti is on. There's the quick. Almost revive, and that's going to be well timed. Can they kill him back? Yes, they can. Well done, Revenge. That was beautiful. 2 kills now for Immortals. Can they get out? Summit.
Cloud9 are overforcing.
Ulti's in 20 seconds. They know they keep getting the movement speed. They can always get in and out as they want, but yes, the revive's coming in. Destiny's back on the map here, and it is going to be Cloud9 walking away, still with Baron in their clutches on 3 of the members.
Yeah, I mean, going to be able to back it up, but that seemed like a pretty big chase there. Yes, they have the speed ups for Sin, but Summit committed his ulti to kill Leona so they could get the Baron, so they weren't really ready to go on the fight. And I think they should have kind of just taken their small win, backed it up, but they wanted to try to punish the fact that Revenge had no flash from that earlier kill on him. This time, though, really well played by Immortals. They kite it back, they wait out the revive timer, and they land the Shock Blast, and Immortals at least get a couple kills back, but it is Baron in the pockets here of Cloud9, and we'll see how much they can get done with this. This was the initial play, and really it's all about the initial Everfrost into the follow-up bomb. He catches Xerxe there and heads up play to drop the bombs behind the Leona. You have to stop the damage from Xerxe. The Leona doesn't really matter. And then, yes, the revive comes out very early, but I think it's smart in this position because you know you have reinforcements coming, so the only way it goes bad is if you get 100-0 in that CC. So the early ult prevents that, guarantees your teammates will arrive. Really smart stuff from Fudge, and he's turned in a very impressive Zilean game so far.
Yeah, and he's just stacking the haste, right? He's got the Cosmic Drive. He's on the way to Seraph's Embrace now as well. So those are going to be some spammed ults in these fights. He got a second one off. Unfortunately, Blaber still died. But, right, the fight started and ended with him ulting. Sorelda's in for the Ezreal. Sure, yeah. I mean, your Q is slow. It is a solid item here. Yeah, it might be crowned fourth at this point. I think it is actually a version of the build I have seen, but we'll keep our eyes peeled. Again, if you are going for maximal damage, Triforce will spike harder than an Essence Reaver. It is a more expensive item, so if you're trying to get to, the Soreldas earlier on, then you can go for the cheaper route like this. But regardless, doing just fine, clearly. Farming pretty well. We are 3 items on WildTurtle. Said the Rapid Fire Cannon is a very poor DPS option, so doesn't quite have the single target sticking power. Has the one decent rocket, but then that's all on cooldown, and he has to go back to regular attack range.
Yeah, and that's kind of what he's hoping for, though. Obviously, it's a bit of a preference thing, trying to get, that long-range rocket auto, trying to get a crit, trying to poke people out a bit. But another pick, and they're happy to commit the ulti versus Destiny.
Destiny gets a W down, but he still dies through it. The damage is there as they lock him up for long enough. That is a dead support. 50 seconds till Dragon's Soul.
Yeah, he's going to be up for Soul, though, and I'm not sure if Summit will actually have his ulti back, so was it worth it? I don't know. I mean, with Hex Gates, can Destiny get there? I think he will.
Blaber jumping in, no Zilean ulti on him, but with the ulti he's going to be okay for a little while. Huge damage! Xerxe shows up and just drops right away. Fudge kites out away from Viktor, and now with a dead jungle, you have to believe this is almost a freebie. Cloud9 getting the spells back soon. Good sidestep, gets away from the rocket, and now we've got a fight towards the mid lane. Turtle chased down, killed by Berserker. Looks for the slow, can't quite find it. A minion blocks the shot, jumps over the wall, stays alive. Mid turret not at half HP. Blaber going to heal up against the camp. As the turret will fall, Cloud9 can always retreat back for the dragon. In the meantime, they crush the mid wave, they get the gold off the turret, and they're on the way over.
This game has just felt so in control for Cloud9. Even before this point, the gold lead was not that massive, but at no point did it feel like Immortals had a chance in this game. Cloud9 have just been in full control. They are very clear about how they want to play it out, showing up for these objectives, no fear to commit their ultimates, actually killing off the support, because that guarantees them vision in the area. That guarantees them the next step. Multiple times, we've seen Summit commit the one-man ulti on a Leona, and it works out because they're playing well around it. Now, PowerOfEvil stepping forward, he's spotted.
Oh, they just jump in, deletion! Down goes one, looking for two here. Xerxe showed up, back in the same jungle he died in, and there's kill number 10 on the board. Fudge shows the Cloud9 flare, does a flash for nothing. All right, yeah, keep the KDA, and that is another death under Revenge.
Oh my God, the stop move, the flash in place, the flare.
Yeah.
These people have families, Fudge.
Yeah, well, Fudge is talking a lot of smack for an Enchanter-only player. So I don't know how much I want to hear from it, buddy, but it is going to be a man with some good teammates. Spams the Cloud9 flare. Thank you for the other 4 for getting me over the finish line. 3-0-7 for the Zilean, and it's time for the turrets to fall. A bit of spam for Fudge. Yeah, that's not how that works, bud. You still die. It's pure damage out of the fountain laser. All right, KDA still remains 10 for the champion. 12-3 on the scoreboard. Cloud9 absolutely demolish Immortals. And hey, service continues on Sunday. They add the deaths. The Nexus falls. Well done, Cloud9.
Man, they are just having some fun with it at the end. Flashing the emotes, flashing in place, going for the fountain dives even.
Yeah.
Cloud9 styling on him here today. This one was not close. And as much as you're kind of joking about Fudge, just playing the tiers, he played a really good Zilean game. Zilean, I think, is a hard champion to play. He got through the laning phase well, handled that top lane fight really, really well. But more importantly, I feel like this was the most controlled, most impressive game that Cloud9 have actually turned in. To me, this looked like the strongest performance they have had. They have had some really interesting strategies. Obviously it was cool to see the Ivern mid, the Soraka mid, but they fell way further behind in the earlier stages there, and it felt like they were more relying on their opponents making some mistakes in these river fights to really capitalize on. And then they did incredible jobs with that. In this one, I never thought Immortals had a chance. It felt like start to finish, all their lanes were going very, very well. You know, the flash forced on a revenge early on top side. Summit's holding a freeze, you know, even or ahead in farm pretty early on.
Yeah.
And Fudge, you know, was able to hold up very, very well. You know, he was down a little bit of farm early. They get that 1 kill. Then he's actually ahead in gold at that point. Berserker's chilling. Their comp is really, really strong scaling forward.
Yeah.
Their setups for dragons were really good. Like, Immortals never had a chance to contest. There's not much to nitpick here, really. Like, this was just such a good game across the board from Cloud9.
Yeah, the bot lane won 2-on-2, and that was with Xerxe showing up, right, getting a flash force up the Karma, and then Winsome was like, I'll just play out of Hex Flash stun range. Like, it's fine, no big deal. So they won heads up there, got the Roman in mid. That worked really well. And Summit obviously did amazingly tops lane. Again, Warden's Mail. Warden's Mail against Jace, it'll help you a ton, just saying. Now, it's been a holy day indeed, so we are joining Cloud9's Fudge, Enchanter One Trick, and LeTigress for our Verizon postgame interview.
Played Aurelia yesterday.
He lost.
Welcome, everyone, to the stage for our Verizon post-game interview. I am joined by mid laner Fudge. You know, it kind of still takes me getting used to calling you mid laner Fudge, but here we are. You busted out the Zilean today. Why was that the pick?
I think Zilean is very broken. I think Bjergsen's the only one that actually plays it like a lot in LCS. So, and I think he plays it for a good reason. I think it's really, really broken. The laning phase, if you can get through it, I think it's Scale's probably one of the best champions in the game. So Blaber thought that if I played Zilean and he played Zhao, we could gank the enemy mid laner, get me through lane. And if I go even in CS in lane, I think that it's really, really hard for the enemy team to actually do anything. As you can see from how the game went, I guess.
Yeah, it is interesting to me to hear you describe it as this broken champ, but we have only really seen Bjergsen play it on the stage so much. You also had the Malphite as part of this, which is obviously very team-oriented. How is it feeling with Summit coming through and just being the one to initiate in these fights and having the follow-ups?
Summit hadn't actually played Malphite before today. We sort of just brought it up to him at the last moment, and I don't think he's actually played the matchup too much recently. So I don't think he was like really comfortable on it. But he actually played really, really well today. He like outlaned Jace, I would say, and I think in team fights he played really well. He knew his role. So it's always really nice to have winning lanes when you're outscaling them, and that's basically what happened today, I felt like.
When I hear about his willingness to be flexible, and then you obviously doing the same with a lot of these picks, how do you feel you all compare to other players in the league in terms of that willingness to, hey, I haven't played this pick for a while, but let's go for it?
Yeah, I would say a lot of players in the LCS sort of just stick to comfort. And if they don't really want to go on stage, play something that they haven't practiced a lot, and they don't feel like they'll like play insanely well, just to have a better team comp. And I think we're willing to play stuff that's maybe we're not as comfortable in to have a better team comp because we believe that we can get through like the hard parts of the game. I think especially on stage, playing scaling in general is pretty easy because people play a lot worse to punish it in early game, I would say. So it's very nice to have a lot of flexibility when it comes to draft. I think it's something that not many LCS teams have, or not many teams in the world really have.
It's one thing for a staff to say they want to be flexible in the way they draft. It's another for the players to be willing to index into that as well. It makes Cloud9 really fun to watch, Fudge. Thank you for stopping by for the interview once again.
Thank you.
For more on that game, let's head on over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, LeTigress. Cloud9 put a win on the board, a nice little rebound. Get Fudge off of those, you know, high skill cap champions like Aurelia. That's how you get it done. It was so good. That's why I'm saying it. I have
really
no.
hard.
I don't want to. I don't want to play Zilean mid. I have no interest. No, again, I jest. But this is actually, I want to jump to you first, something, because you said something just off camera while we were in the middle of that interview about Zilean, that you're starting to maybe shift your perspective on it to align with some others.
Last week we brought up Raz and I having a conversation off desk, whether it's just, you know, that Bjergsen is kind of forcing people to look at Zilean and how broken he is. He's very strong.
Officially broken?
Yeah. So, I mean, I actually thought it before this game, but
okay.
it did remind me because we had this entire discussion. Obviously, he came in this draft, the Ezreal Karma, we've already talked about, is insanely strong pushing lane. The Malphite for Summit surprised me.
Really?
And it was really interesting to hear behind the scenes from Fudge. Just because from my experience with watching Summit, he's so much more of like a carry top laner. And to know that he came in with this champion that he'd only ever played once before in his career with a 0% win rate, so it's just like one off. Came in, I thought laned really well. Like, I thought he looked really, really good.
Yeah.
And that's great. Like, it's just another testament to how strong these players are on this lineup.
Exactly. He was keeping even. He was ducking a lot of skill shots from the Jace that would have put him in range of a dive. It just wasn't apparent. There was a time where Viego comes topside with Rift Herald trying to push him off it, but he was actually losing the trade versus a frozen heart Malphite. So it was just really difficult to deal with him early on. So it made it hard. I thought it was a great pick in the draft, not only dealing with Jace, we've seen that a few times globally, but also knowing that the enemy jungler Viego is going to have a tough time to be able to get possessions.
Yeah, but you also brought up something during the game, Raz, where you're like, Cloud9 just laned too well to kind of lose the game.
Yes.
The weakness of Malphite a lot of times is, well, can you get through laning phase well?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Weakness of Zilean, can you get through laning phase well? Well, they absolutely did.
They did.
I guess they win. That's kind of what happened.
And that's why I love that little piece of information that we got out of Fudge in the interview, right? Where he's talking about having that conversation with Blaber. Hey, let's get you the Zilean. I can come mid, get you the gank that's going to help you get through the laning phase to the degree we need to, and then we're off to the races. And so just very cool perspective on how the team is ultimately arriving at a number of the champion choices that they're making.
Yeah, I mean, also Malphite.
That gold grab. That gold grab.
Does more damage than you think. The other thing I want to bring up is Blaber, right? Because he was, again, forward positioning on the Zhao, something he's incredibly comfortable on, and helped lead the team, I think, in a lot of these team fights as well.
Yeah, and Berserker too. Like, I know this is just typical Ezreal poke damage that you would expect in a game, but as we saw from his Aphelios games, now we're on a champion with a far more mobility, and he is just able to just jump forward once again, knowing that he has Zilean ulti to back him up. Same with Karma. So Karma and Zilean are just so insufferable to deal with, not only from a carry perspective, but Zhao just does what he wants to do.
Yep.
Yeah, he was given full permission
exactly.
because of those two champions. And in part because, as well, Fudge was able to play the Zilean quite well outside of the lane. And he's the reason, or rather, that's the reason we're handing Fudge player of the game this time around. I've also just been wildly impressed, again, with this guy making a lane swap. The 4 unique champions across 4 games in a regular season so far. He's really just testing all the waters to see what's going to work for him.
Exactly, like open-minded. Same with a lot of the players. It seems like the direction, sure, they're winning, but also it seemed like week 1, without the practice, you know, half the players just coming into America at that time, instantly slotting in with what I would deem as like uncomfortable champions and playstyles to kind of, usually you'd want at least a week or so of practice, but they're like, no, we can do this. Oh, you're showing me this Soraka versus Viktor kind of gameplay? I'm willing to go for it.
Did you see that behind the scenes as well? When I think they're like, oh, we're going to play Soraka today, and someone's like, what? Soraka?
Yeah.
Like, are they just deciding these things like 30 minutes before the game? What are they doing?
It's like, what do you think? What do you think of Camille? I was like, oh, Camille top. Okay. It's like, you're gonna have a Soraka mid. I was like, oh, okay.
All right, okay, yeah,
all right.
Do I get a choice in this? Because I got some questions. I mean, yeah, across 4 games, 19 unique champions, I think, with just the 1 repeat Aphelios. So very cool to see out of Cloud9 so far. We're going to go to a break, but as we go, it's a hallowed day in the land of football, and a couple members of the LCS got a chance to participate in some of the action. Check it out.
Welcome back to the Bud Light coverage of Mega Bowl 56. Chris Myers here with you. And Moose pulled a hammy. He had to step out, but we got a couple of warm bodies that are going to step in and do the analyst work. Azael and Captain Flowers.
I'm happy to be here, Chris. Thanks for having us.
I'm excited to try something new.
All right, well, we're going to see how you can handle this as we go to the action here.
Here's the Rams bring a few more tanks out onto the field. We're going to make a defensive move here in mid lane. There's the snap. Team fight is underway. Bengals diving in with some hard CC, but bot laner Stafford has time to drop back and fire on the side. Bengals looking to lock down the AD carry, but he fires a global all the way downtown. Top laner split pushing straight towards the Bengals base, but can he end it? He's broken through and he's on to the Nexus.
What did he say?
Oh, really impressive stuff from the AD carry.
That's Stafford.
Exactly. To not panic and hold on to his ultimate. You have to appreciate the map awareness to see the top laner.
Come.
Split pushing downfield, and he stopped the Bengals' backs long enough to buy himself the time he needed. That was great comms there, Chris.
All right, now, hold on. Darn it, you guys just can't bring that into football. Not into this kind of football. Let's go down to the field now. I get a word with the Rams coach.
Thank you so much, Chris. I'm standing here on the field. Congrats on the wild finish to that game there, Coach. Tell me, what was the strategy in the second half of this game?
Yeah, so, well, we knew we weren't the better team-fighting team, but we figured if we could successfully execute the 1-3-1, we could probably dictate the pace of the game. Once we had vision control and set up around the objective, it was ace and GG's.
Well, congrats again, Coach. I'll let you go off and celebrate with the team. For now, let's send it back to the booth.
Right, GG?
Means good game.
It's like an esports butt pad.
That's an absolute banger.
A lion! Ah, yes, the king of the jungle. Time for a Red Bull. Red Bull? Still, you'll never be faster than a lion. I don't have to be quicker than the lion, just faster than you. Red Bull gives you wings.
Initializing legendary moments.
Take a look while you can, because if you blink, you'll miss it. I'm sure you've heard the news.
Gold, gold, and more gold.
Here comes the big play.
Oh, that's
Perfect timing. You can see this one coming.
They get what they need. They got the mids. They got the support. They got the top.
Are they gonna give you some fun League of Legends? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Welcome to the LCS.
FTX, official cryptocurrency exchange partner of the LCS.
Sequence complete.